Yo, welcome to the MycoGeeky podcast, where we explore the fascinating world of mushrooms and the people who love them. From expert cultivators to passionate foragers, we bring you deep conversations, cutting-edge insights, and everything mycology. Whether you're a seasoned mycophile or just curious, we invite you to geek out with us on the wonders of fungi and join the mushroom movement. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the MycoGeeky podcast, the podcast that goes deep so you can level up your at-home mushroom cultivation game. I'm your host, MycoGeeky, and we got a good show for you tonight. Guess what we're talking about? NAMA 2024, Randle, Washington. Happy and I, we stayed up in Packwood. We hung out with about 180 elk up in Packwood. Not a lot of restaurant and dining choices up there. You pretty much there's like one place to go, one place to get gas. We were nestled right in between Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens, just thick up in some amazing Pacific Northwest land. So I'm back. Had to take last week off, was just barely getting back from the trip, just didn't have it in me to get the show together. So plus I had to bring all these cool people on the show, right? So that's what we're up to tonight. We're live. We're going to chit chat with all sorts of people. Everybody on the show tonight was at NAMA 2024. And we're going to find out what they thought. So anyway, this was my second NAMA Foray. First one was amazing, Appalachia. If you guys saw that show, you saw we found a boatload of mushrooms, a lot of species. I'll tell you what, though. What was really fascinating about that NAMA was in the beginning, I overheard a bunch of people talking, saying, it's really dry. So-and-so didn't show up. So-and-so didn't show up. Too dry. They're chasing rain. I forget it was John Plishke or who it was, but no, John had to have been at that NAMA. It couldn't have been him. Anyway, but we still found a bunch of mushrooms. Why? Because if you get like 400 mushroom loving people together and they roam around the woods, they will find mushrooms. I mean, they'll roll up their sleeves, they'll pull out their little the tiny specimen containers, and mushrooms will get found. So anyway, this this foray, I'm going to tell you right now, we were tripping over mushrooms. It is a mushroom wonderland up there for sure. And the weather was great. It had rained quite a bit in the week or so leading up to the foray. And we got there, and I'm going to tell you right now, we got there early Thursday. Happy and I, we were on the hunt. We want to find some Folliculosa or some Stunzii, some, of course, we want to find some Psilocybe up there. So we're roaming around before things get going, and we tried to go to this one campsite. It was closed, so we just pulled off to the side of the road, and we're like, we're just going to go in the woods right here, just look for some mushrooms. I swear to God, guys, we walked into the tree line. I didn't have to take another step, and I probably saw 30 species of mushrooms just within eyesight. It was crazy. It was amazing. I am so glad I went on this trip. It was really something special. I had such a good time. Connected with a bunch of people. Some of you guys gonna get to meet some of those people here. There's a bunch more that are not on the show. I can only have so many people on the show. So anyway, so this amazing foray up in the Pacific Northwest, hosted by NAMA, North American Mycological Association. There was one guy, he's the Foray Chair. He is the lucky guy who gets to put the whole dang thing together. He's the guy that solves all the problems. He makes all the decisions. So if at the end of the day, the foray's terrible, it's all his fault. But if it's amazing, he definitely gets a little bit of credit for that. So I think this was a phenomenal foray. And I reached out to the Foray Chair and I said, Ken, what do you think about coming on the show? He said, yeah, great, let's do it. So without further ado, let me welcome to the show, Ken. And Ken wrote, let me try it. Let me try your last name. I got to try it. Buegeleisen.
Close enough.
Or what is it though?
It's Buegeleisen.
Buegeleisen. Okay,
Yeah,
that was my third choice. All right, I'm proud of myself. I'll take that. That's pretty close. All right, so how about this? Just let everybody. I would normally ask about your Myco origin story, but since we're kind of focused on the foray this year, I want to know a little bit about you as it pertains to how you ended up in the role of Foray Chair for this year.
Well, so my local club is SOMA, Sonoma County Mycological Association, and they have a camp every year. As we just did the 25th one last year. So the last couple of years, I've been running that camp, and it's pretty much the same size as a NAMA Foray, 300-ish people. So so Trent and Kristen from NAMA, Trent's the president. He's been coming to the SOMA camp for the last few years, and he approached me actually last year at the Foray and said, would you entertain like running the NAMA Foray for us? And I was like, yeah, okay, maybe. So we talked about it for a little while, and got down to the details, and the site was already picked. The date was already picked. Halloween was an interesting choice, but so I just sort of stepped in and kind of like used my past experience with SOMA Camp and made NAMA Camp, basically.
I like it. Now, what's interesting about that story is it reminds me of workplace scenarios where if you're really good at something, then they ask you to do more of it. So you must your other camp must have been great, and Trent was sitting there going, all right, let's get Ken in here. Ken knows how to do this. So that's really cool. Now, so how many years were you doing the SOMA camp for?
I did it. That would have been my third year last year. So I'm coming up on my fourth one. And then I was, an attendee prior to that, volunteer, that kind of thing for a couple years before that. So
nice. All right. So what is the hardest part? Now you've done the SOMA camps, but what was the hardest part about the NAMA Foray this year, logistically?
Well, I had never been to the site. That was a huge problem in the beginning for me. A bunch of the other people on the team, and it really wasn't just me. Like I have this little working group, and Trent and Kristen were part of it. Peggy, the Foray Chair, Melody, the treasurer. And we had a few people kind of like come in. Brooke Reed, COO, was there the whole time. But, we would bring in Julie Schreiber. We would bring in different people. Pat Mitchell, facilities guy, gung ho. Luke helped us with all the registration stuff. So it was definitely a team effort. I mean, and we had also some meetings in the beginning. So we did like 40, 50 person meetings for the first few months with the local host clubs and anybody who was just kind of interested in like, what are we going to do with this upcoming foray? And if you want to, throw some ideas out, we did monthly meetings for that, and, kind of just shared our plans and got feedback, and worked out pretty good, I think.
So you had not even been there. You rolled in basically when the rest of us rolled in.
I got there 2 days ahead because I was nervous. I mean, I will admit that this was a big stretch for me, and I wasn't sure. And Noah Siegel said, you guys should have put this 2 weeks before that because you're going to get snow and it's going to ruin the whole thing. And David Ansley, Kitsap Peninsula Mycological, he's like, yeah, the last year was snow on the ground in this state. So so we got lucky on the weather. The mushrooms were just going crazy. I mean, the spot where I parked my car, there was like a lobster mushroom just growing right out the door from, overnight where I parked my car. But yeah, it
you guys are spoiled up there. I said to my buddy Happy Hyphae, I said, these people live in a giant monotub. I mean, it's just perfect. It's just perfect up here.
There was a lot of mushrooms out there, so it was fun.
Now, I will tell you this. I thought, because it didn't even take me like 2 forays in, and I'm like, okay, I'm seeing, a lot of hyphaloma. I'm seeing a lot of Foray. I'm seeing a lot of this, a lot of that. Okay, I'm starting to get familiar with these. And I made the very naive assumption, like, I think the speciation is lower here than maybe it was in Appalachia, which might actually be true. But at so far, if you go onto the NAMA project in INAT, it's right on par there. I mean, it was a extremely high number of species. I guess I just didn't find all of them, but yeah, it really delivered on every level when it comes to foraging for mushrooms. Nobody got hurt. We'll talk to Aaron Hilliard. We had just like a brief moment where we thought we lost somebody, but we didn't. It really went off well. I kudos to you guys and your team for putting all that together. It's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, the forays, I have to admit, a few people did report getting lost. It was raining, it was gray, your orientation in the woods. It's not straight mountains. Like there's all these little curves and, if you got away from the road, it was pretty easy to get turned around. So
in some of those places, it's like, you can walk 10 minutes in one direction and it looks like where you started from. So yeah, I could see myself getting turned around in there too. I just tried to stay not too far off the trail. I made sure I was always within earshot of somebody and dodge that bullet. I was like, just whatever you do, MycoGeeky, just don't be the guy that gets lost, that has to be helicoptered out of a ravine.
I mean, I think we even got lucky with the fact that it was raining a lot during the event, and that made people not venture too far away from their cars, I think.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Because people, we had scheduled some really long, like all day forays or extended time forays. And most of those people came back pretty early after, 2-3 hours in the rain in the woods. You're cold, you're tired, you're ready to go back. So yeah, it worked out fine.
Man, I read your guys's, packing list, and I was like, I got scared. I reached out to Aaron Hilliard and was like, is this for real? Do I need all these things? He's like, yeah, if you're out there all day, you're going to get cold. You're going to get wet. You might want to come prepared. So we did. We didn't do it all day. I never did an all day foray. So I always kind of hit the moment when I'm like, okay, I'm getting cold. I'm losing steam. And that was right about the time when they would usually end. So that worked out really well. So you doing next year's?
I am.
Awesome. Love it.
Just had a call today. We're trying to get the site nailed down and all that stuff. So
very cool. And that will be more East Coast, Eastern Seaboard, maybe a little northern-ish.
Northeast, nice. September timeframe, and awesome. Close to NYMF. So we were trying to coordinate with NYMF to make sure that there's no, problems with overlap or whatever. So that seems to be good. So I think we're, maybe next week or the week after, we'll probably announce the actual site. We had a site picked and they canceled on us. We usually announce these things every year. And
I was excited. I know.
And the week before this event, they said, I'm sorry, we can't do you. And so we've been scrambling, but I think we're good. And it actually gave us the opportunity to plan a few years out. So we actually have about the next 3 years of locations kind of tentatively figured out. And we'll get it done.
Well, yeah, one step backwards, hopefully 3 steps forward, right? Yes, that's good. So let me ask you this. What for you? I mean, I feel like you knocked it out of the park. You had a good team. What for next year are you like, I was happy with this year, but next year I want to do X. I want to accomplish what is the icing on the cake or the next thing that you want to pull off? Well, I'm putting you on the spot. I know. I want to hear it.
It's interesting. This event, I did try a few different things. We definitely elevated the evening socials. That was really Julie Schreiber doing all that work. We gave her a nice budget and we gave her, some bandwidth to do what she wanted. And then like each evening, I don't know if you did all the evenings.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, we had the Halloween thing the first night. The second night was 5 or 6 cooking stations cooking mushrooms that were found, and all the different types of ways of cooking them. And then the last night was all the mixology night with all the different like infused stuff, and that was pretty amazing. So, that's going to stick, hopefully.
Yeah, Julie can cook mushrooms. Let me tell you what, too. My buddy Happy had never had. I think she's cooking chanterelles at the time, and he tried them, and he was like, "All right, well, hold up. I mean, he got pretty excited about that. Yeah, that was cool. I'll tell you what I liked about those is they were themed. They had a purpose. You knew what you're getting yourself into. And more importantly, it was a chance, like Happy and I, we went on the social media foray with Aaron Hilliard and Gordon Walker. And then later that evening, you get to see them cooking, some of these mushrooms. And yeah, it's cool to see like another side of some of these people, some of the foray leaders, showing if we're good at finding them, we might be good at cooking them. So yeah, that was really cool to see. So kudos to Julie for that.
Yeah, that social media foray, that was a total experiment. I invented that, and I contacted Gordon and Aaron and said,
nice.
I think this would work. I would say they didn't experience as much like attendance as they were hoping. So you guys had like a little bit of a smaller group. So like in things that would change next year, I probably should have just put it in their lap and said, "Hey, what do you guys think
sure
will happen?" Instead of me coming up with an idea and asking them to do it. So those kinds of things are pretty much, the improvements that you make year over year. So that's what I'm going to do.
Well, I mean, I'm going to tell you this. I came in kind of halfway through the lecture, but I was there for the whole foray. I mean, they're phenomenal foray leaders. Aaron knows that neck of the woods backwards and forwards. It was phenomenal to hear him kind of talk about what we were looking at and a little bit about the trees and the geography and all that stuff. And then just some complimentary stuff from Gordon, who's, coming at it. He's a little bit south of there, so it's not exactly his territory, but man, they worked well together. It was really cool to get to hang out with those guys and just spend a little time with them. So yeah, I really appreciated that foray. I thought it was great.
That's good. Yeah. And I figured, Aaron's a hold the phone sideways guy and Gordon's a hold the phone vertical guy.
Yep.
Between the two, you should get lots of information.
They were, I mean, you almost couldn't have picked a more perfect compliment. Yeah, they were great. We loved that foray. That was so fun. Good. Let me just tell you something that I'm noticing, and I kind of want the inside scoop on it. And I'm not complaining because I love eating mushrooms, but I'm noticing a concerted effort to, I think, evolve NAMA from being, we go in the woods, we look for mushrooms, we tell you what it is, to, and now we can cook with these things. Let's eat some food, screw McDonald's, go out in the woods, find some mushrooms. Let's do some cooking. Do you know who's driving that? I love it, but I'm just, it seems very purposefully done. And, I've been wondering like, what's motivating that? I'm digging it though.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're just trying to make it a more entertaining event for people. Mm-hmm. And there is the vouchering side and the scientific side. NAMA brings that. And then, it just needs to be fun for everybody.
Yeah.
And we also have a lot of people who don't know that much about mushrooms coming to these events these days. And NAMA is trying to appeal to a younger crowd. So, focusing on making it entertaining and informative, fun.
Right.
The science side will happen no matter what. And people who want to geek out on mushrooms can totally go into the voucher space and spend their entire time there. And many people do.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, my buddy Hart Singer, I don't think he left that room back in the corner. He was pretty much there the whole time. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Josh back there. Yep. Yeah. They're doing a lot. I was trying to get one of those guys. I was trying to get my buddy Spencer on. He was part of the validation crew, but, I didn't hear from him. I don't know where he is. I guess not on social media as much anymore. But shout out to Spencer. He was one of my first guests. I love that guy. And he did a great job working his butt off so that we know what the heck we found. It was great. Cool, man. Well, let me get through some of these other people we got lined up, and then if you're still around at the end, we'll kind of do a round table, just kind of, I think, a more broad discussion about NAMA forays in general, about festivals, forays, and this big tidal wave of interest around mushrooms that we're all kind of taking the ride with right now. So I'm gonna pull you off. We'll pull our next guest on. All right. Who I got up next? All right. So for a hot second, I thought he had a business meeting, and things changed. I'm happy. Here we go. No sound check. Let's pull him on. He's been on the show before. Love this guy. I finally got to meet him. It was a really special part of the trip for me. I'm talking about Aaron Hilliard and boy, did he nail the title, Mushroom Wonderland. What's up, man?
What's up, man? Glad to be able to be here. I thought earlier I wouldn't be able to join you.
That's
tonight,
great.
but...
I'm so glad. Well, first off, it was great to meet you. Man, I had plans to hang out with you 50,000 times more than I got to, because, man, you blink and that foray is over.
I know, the whole weekend felt that way. It was just so many people, so much going on. There were so many people I wish I would have connected with a little bit more, but it was cool to get to meet you and hang out. And you're totally chill. You're just like you are here on YouTube or whatever.
Same, right? I mean, it's too much work to put on a front. You can't do it. You gotta just be yourself. Acting, that's what you do in Hollywood. This is just a YouTube. But I will tell you this, I really want to just compliment you. That social media foray, that Ken just totally took all the credit for coming up with that idea, which is amazing. Man, I think that's like a permanent staple. Now, I don't know. I didn't even go into it thinking like this is a master class in how to be the greatest social. I just thought it was cool that there would be a lecture and a foray that sort of is themed around this idea of, man, these days, if you love mushrooms and you're in the frickin' woods anyway, maybe you just press that red button and see what happens. So I thought that was cool. Tell me your experience with it. Like, how did you feel? Because, man, you got to be the first people to ever do a social media lecture foray at one of these things.
Yeah, that was interesting, and Ken does get the credit because he kind of hit me up and he said, I'm thinking about doing the social media foray, and I didn't exactly know what that entailed. Was it me and Gordon and a bunch of like fans going out into the woods, just hanging out with social media creators, or are we like going to teach about social media? So me and Gordon kind of touched bases a couple times before the foray, but he had a presentation already made. So it worked out really good. We kind of like tag teamed back and forth. His style is more short form content, like TikTok. He's got 3 million followers over there on TikTok that like to see mushrooms get slapped around and fondled and molested and stuff. And that's cool. It's totally entertaining. He also knows a ton about mushrooms. So, but he's kind of more in that short form vertical video zeitgeist, and then I am kind of more long form storytelling YouTube kind of videos. And so it's kind of the yin and yang of social media, and I learned a lot myself just hanging out and talking to Gordon and like bouncing things off each other. And I thought it went really well. We did like an hour in the classroom setting workshop, just like these are the different social media platforms. Here's some ways to help appease the algorithm, some do's and some don'ts. And then we headed out into the field. And you kind of came in late, I think, right?
Yeah, I missed probably at least 2/3 of the lecture. I was doing something else, but I was like, I mostly want to go out in the woods with these guys. And for me personally, my absolute favorite was that it was both of you who are so different in how you approach social media and creating content. But my absolute favorite was just hearing the way you two bantered and shared different points about different things. Like, what mushroom was that? Was that angel something or other polypore you guys were looking at one point in time? And you guys were just like taking turns. He was talking about maybe the chemistry of it, and you were talking about the history of it. And I was like, this is amazing. This is fantastic.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, the angel wings. Those
angel
are
wings, yeah.
Controversial mushroom, the Pleurocypella porogens. You know, it's in a lot of the old literature I have has like recipes, and the old timers loved eating those. But in 2004, there was an incident where I think I could be wrong. It's like 14 people died in a care facility in Japan and they were fed these in a soup, and they all happened to have like kidney issues, which just seems like really risky to go foraging wild mushrooms, feed them to all these like immunocompromised people. But definitely put a mark on that mushroom. And so I think they're fascinating because it's like, do you eat it or do you not? Me personally, I'll pass, but yeah. Unfortunately, like of all of the land around here that our foray, they didn't really know what the habitat was like there, but it wasn't the greatest habitat. But luckily, we still were able to chop it up a lot and talk about the things that we did find, and lost like you said.
When we were rolling in, the topography, geography was totally different, and I was like, oh, these guys got this is the special ish right here. We're about to get just the most glorious spot of all time. And then you kept going past that, and we're like, okay, here we are. We're just like a parking lot. Cause at the end of the day, if you do these forays, there has to be a parking lot more or less wherever you go. But I still thought it was great. I mean, there was still a bunch of old growth trees. For all the forays I did, I thought it was roughly on par. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. I know you can be picky. You're from out there. You're like, this isn't the best foray I've done.
Yeah, I think when we finally crossed the street, there was like pretty good fungal diversity over there in that little tiny little niche over there. But there's certain trees that associate mycorrhizally with fungi, and then there's some trees that don't. And we happen to be in an area that had a bunch of those trees that didn't have mycorrhizal mushrooms growing around them. So, but there was still plenty to talk about. It is a mushroom wonderland up here in the Northwest. It's just soaking wet right now. It's just like a heavy downpour. I feel the house vibrating from it. And so we're actually nearing the end of our mushroom season because once, even before it freezes hard, it rains so hard here in November that everything is just soggy and waterlogged, and it kind of will fizzle out like that and then start freezing, but I think the NAMA camp was like right on the cusp of like almost being too late. Really lucked out to be able to find all those species up there that were still intact,
Yeah, it was brisk. It was significantly colder than the Ohio that I left, and I was like, wow, I did not expect it to be this much colder. I knew we were a little bit up in altitude, but yeah, it was brisk, but boy did it work out. I think the last couple days there was like some snow on the caps of the mountains around there, and I was oh yeah, we're getting real close.
Yeah, just standing there in camp, you just look up on the hills and there was snow just right there. And it's a really wet climate here, really high humidity, and so even when it's 41 degrees, it is cold, because it's just so moist. Everything gets wet and cold, but it adds to the beauty of it. And that area was just like you landed in an amazing one of the many amazing forests here in Washington. But the Gifford Pinchot is like super old growth. I mean, you get humbled stepping into that forest. Kind of hard to feel like a big deal when you walk into woods like that, right? Like these trees are 20 feet around and 300 feet tall. Yeah, it was really amazing.
Yeah, see, I come from the land of deciduous trees. So one of the interesting moments in the foray was when you were like, oh no, don't go over there. And my instincts over here is go to, broadleaf trees, go look for big oaks, all that. You're like, oh no, you want to go back over here. I was like, oh yeah, because I'm not in Kansas anymore. This is Pacific Northwest, totally different.
Yeah. Most of our mushrooms associate with the conifers, the big evergreen, the needly trees, and the leafy trees we have here we don't have oak here in Washington. You go to like very southern Washington and into Oregon, there's oak, but really rare here in Western Washington. So it's these big conifer forests, the huge evergreen forest that we're looking for. And then the big leafy trees that we ended up in are Acer macrophylla, the big leaf maple trees.
Oh my God, the leaves were this big. It was insanity.
Yeah, the biggest leaf of any maple.
Oh.
And we're lousy with them. But when the forest floor is littered with 18 inches thick of those leaves, you couldn't find a mushroom, even if one was growing under there. So, we kind of went into that habitat and we were like, nope, let's go back to where the evergreens are. And that's where one guy had strayed off.
Right.
And our group went back and he kept going down the trail. That was pretty wild. I didn't expect that.
I didn't even know it happened, because it wasn't until the very end that the participant was like, my boyfriend's not here. He's somewhere in the woods. And we're like, wait, what? That
she was kind of crying next to me. And I said, what's going on? Everything okay? Like, I think she was really disappointed that we didn't find a bunch of edible mushrooms. And she was like, he's been gone for an hour. I was like, what? So we went running into the woods, blowing whistles and stuff, but he came running right back. So
man, yeah, that was tense for a minute. I was like, are we going to have to assemble a SWAT team and start combing this forest? But yeah, luckily we did not have to. That was good.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I'm glad you ended up showing up. I'm going to keep cranking through everybody. And if you're around at the end, then we'll do a little round table chit chat and go from there.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for chatting. Good
always.
to meet you in person. Much love.
Oh, it was great. All right, guys. Next up, who do I got? Oh, yes. All right. So this guy, we chit-chatted a little bit on Facebook. And when he did his mushroom festival a little bit before the NAMA Foray, I was like, oh, crap, I got to go to this thing next year. He got all the cool kids, people I really like, and it just looked like they were really all about foraying, which is my favorite. So anyway, we were chit-chatting, and he was like, I'm gonna be there. I'm like, oh, cool, we get to meet, chit-chat, and now check this out. I'm gonna bring him out. We can tell the story together. All right, I'm gonna bring on David Rogers, Olympic Peninsula Fungus Festival. What's up, man?
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Let me pull it. Here we go. There we go. All right. So I'm going to tell the story. You can augment it however you want. But we basically went on, we were so enamored by Shannon Adams, who, by the way, is an unbelievably generous and cool foray leader. That there was like a moment where I was like, I think that's David. I'm not sure, but he's not really talking to me, so maybe it's not. And then after the foray, we realized we went on the foray together.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, pretty funny. I was so focused on the mushrooms at that point. And, I definitely I was chuckling when you and Aaron were talking, because I kind of got myself in a almost lost moment out there, because I was like, we started that foray. I'm like a pretty general parking area. We're alongside a road and a river, and I didn't start my GPS, but I got so nose down looking at the mushrooms that I ended up having to walk till I got to the road and follow the road back to the parking area, because I didn't know where I was.
We did. Now, I have told many people about her strategy in the beginning, which was, okay, we're going to walk about 10 minutes. Then we're going to pick a spot. Everybody's going to go look at mushrooms. They're all going to bring back, nice specimens they find. She kind of talked about what comprised a nice specimen or a nice collection. And so we started doing that. And I was like, man, she's like a drill sergeant. She's got this just dialed in. And then she did a little presentation. She walked through all the mushrooms. I'm like, this is so cool. I've never been on a foray quite like this. But then we kept walking. And there's a point where it just kind of, just everybody went their own way. And yes, everybody, there was a period where I'm like, where the hell am I? I just started walking in one general direction and then hollering for Happy, and I found him, and I'm like, okay, I'm not as lost as I thought I was. But yeah, that was a cool foray.
I really did enjoy that letting us kind of get out, because everybody's excited when you get out of the car. If you try and do too much talking right off the get-go, nobody's paying attention anyway. So give us 10 minutes to go out and find some mushrooms, do a little talk, kind of focused on those. And Shannon was amazing, and I was really glad I ended up signing up for that foray and found
man, I'm not even gonna lie, in the beginning I was like, we're not gonna find any Cortinarius here. And she did. She found a few. And
Yeah.
I don't know, were you there when she staged that one and talked about like how she staged it and all that stuff? I was like, this is so cool. I get to see this. You were
Yeah, I
already, you
missed
were
that
way
one.
down the
Yeah.
road at that point. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I
You
started
were
chasing the
there.
Lepiotas. They were looking pretty cool,
Yep.
popping
Oh,
out.
yeah.
I found some patches of those, and then got into chanterelles and
Yep.
honey mushrooms and
Yeah, I found
lobster
some
mushrooms.
stuff on that foray that I didn't find anywhere else. That's true. Yeah, that was a little more unique spot for sure.
Lots of the saffron milk caps, or those lactarius, delicious.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Lots of them. Oh yeah, and a decent amount of boletes and yeah, it was
Yep, a couple
yep.
of those queen boletes or the admiral.
Yeah.
Admirable bolete.
Yeah, it was that was a good foray. I had fun.
Yeah.
All right. What so talk just a little bit. Well, we'll have you on and talk in more detail about this on another show. But just give me kind of an overview of how, because it's not that far away. So what you guys are all about at Olympic Peninsula Fungi Festival versus how NAMA plays out. What do you love about NAMA? What do you love about yours? Obviously, mushrooms are at both.
Yeah, NAMA was amazing. This was actually my first NAMA event that I've got to attend, so that was really an exciting thing, and was really excited. I got to take the family with me, and so I got to give a shout out to my daughters, Maddie and Ember. Maddie was expecting a little shout out, but they got to go with me, and so they were
Nice.
actually getting to experience that NAMA experience at such a young age, and I didn't get to go to my first NAMA event till I was 35. So.
No, kids are so spoiled these days.
She's on a good path.
Nice. Now, your daughter Maddie, she's the inspiration for your mushroom company, right?
Yep. So
Nice.
we named our mushroom farm after her, Maddie's Mushrooms.
All right, you got to start another company now for your other kid, though, don't you?
That's
pretty soon she's going to be like, "Hey,
they're gonna have to learn to share."
There you go. Yeah, you just do a name change down the road. Okay, for the first 10 years, it's Maddie's. Yeah, exactly. All right, so this was your first NAMA.
Yeah.
What was the most like humbling, awe-inspiring, impressive part about it for you?
I mean, the roster is a big one. It's just really like a who's who of the mycology world, especially Pacific Northwest peeps.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, from everywhere. But there's some big names from the Pacific Northwest that I still have been just kind of circling around and haven't had a chance to meet and talk with. And Noah Siegel, Michael Bueg. So a couple of people that I was finally able to get a chance to chat with, and so really. That was really neat. So getting to see so many people that I do know or haven't met both. So that was a really special part of that event. And kind of the biggest difference I would say between the two events is, the Fungi Fest that we do here is a free to attend event for, certain aspects of it. Our presentations and forays are ticketed, but there's a lot of free access spaces too. So you get a pretty decent mix of people who are dedicated, super passionate mycology lovers to people who are just like, oh, I need something to do this weekend. What's this event over here? And stumble through the door with no real knowledge of mushrooms.
But man, you never know. That's what some people, that's what they need, right? Like, it's like sports. Like, sure, you play baseball, you play football growing up, but like, I never had lacrosse. I never had any of these other weird things. Who knows what sport I might have been good at if I got exposed to it. So sometimes I think it's cool that you have a festival set up where obviously NAMA's for hardcore mushroom nerds, right? Like nobody's going to NAMA if they don't like mushrooms. That doesn't happen. But it's cool. You expose people to it. So you got your serious people. They still get to be at the ID table, do all that stuff. But you just get to kind of expose new people some stuff. Maybe 1,000 people show up and 15 of those people find a new passion. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I feel like, like you said, I didn't get the access to the mycology information when I was in school and stuff. It didn't feel like until I was an adult and started to seek this interest out. on my own, that's when I started to learn about it. So just kind of trying to improve the access to that education, because I think that's what a lot of people are looking for now. It's about time.
Hobbies are evolving, man. It's not just drinking beer and watching football anymore. Now you can do a lot of different things. It's not just crocheting and football, and people can do all sorts of stuff, including be obsessed with mushrooms.
Or like you saw at NAMA, we can just combine the two and bring mushrooms in our beer.
I'm not gonna lie, dude, that I expected the food to be good. I mean, I'm okay at cooking mushrooms. All those people blew me out of the water. All that food was on point, and it really does evolve your thinking. After that mixer with all the food, I was like, how is there not just at least one restaurant in every major city that just utterly showcases mushrooms? Like I think there is one somewhere. I forget where it is, but it's not common yet. But I think that's going to change.
Yeah, that's a good point, because there is so much variety just with mushrooms.
Good.
Most of the time when people come up and say, because we do the farmers market with having a farm, and most of the time when people come up and say they don't like mushrooms, it's because all they've ever had is button mushroom.
And that little Pennsylvania Dutch. Oh my gosh. Yeah, like come on. I'll eat those, but once you have, it's like once you have good sushi, like a lot of people go, I tried sushi, it's awful. Where'd you try it? The grocery store. Oh, you didn't like grocery store sushi? Surprise. Yeah. Just gotta have the good stuff. Cool, man. Well, I am definitely, because NAMA's not going to be in the Pacific Northwest next year, so I gotta have a reason to get up there. So your festival's definitely on my radar. I am one man in the basement growing mushrooms, as I say over and over again. So at the end of the day, we'll see where I get next summer, but that is definitely on the list.
Yeah, definitely. I know it's not a short trip, but we'll keep in touch.
It is
try
not.
And make it happen.
We'll figure it out. Cool, man. Well, let me keep getting through everybody. We'll bring you on at the end.
Sounds good.
All right, guys, that was David. He's super fun. He was on his knees just like me, combing through wet, mossy debris, looking for that one mushroom that's gonna just make the day all worthwhile. He's in it to win it, just like the rest of us. All right, so next up, where am I at here? Sorry, let me look at my notes. All right. So my next guest, she is absolutely a nerd celebrity. She if you're into INAT, she's like a bucket list person you want to meet for sure. She has currently identified over 200,000 observations. Man, I've talked on the show about there's no better way to get better at IDing mushrooms than utilizing iNaturalist. It serves as a log. If you get an ID wrong, somebody's going to show up and correct you, right? I've said this. Well, that someone, if it's not Alan Rockefeller, it's usually Ariel. So let me welcome to the show, Ariel Bunkoski. What's up, girl?
Hello.
All right, let me get your overland. There we go. All right. Well, we like sort of met at NAMA last year. I imagine you've been to 100 NAMAs at this point. No, how many have you been to?
So this year was only my second annual NAMA, but then I've done one regional NAMA before.
Okay.
And that's all I've done for NAMA, other than like I led a webinar for them a couple of years ago, but that's really it for NAMA.
All right. You're just revving up the old NAMA gears.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So you did last year's in Appalachia and you did this year's.
Mm-hmm.
Just general feelings about both.
Well, so last year was really different because I was like a volunteer identifier. So I was, quote, working a bit last year. And I still was able to do a lot of things because I was volunteer. I wasn't actually working it. But this year I decided to take a back seat and not do any volunteer stuff, not do anything. I just wanted to be an attendee this year with no responsibilities. And I'm glad I've done that, because as far as like mushroom events in general, I've never done a weekend event where I wasn't working it in some sort of fashion. So this is my first weekend mushroom event that I did not work ever. So I was really happy I did that, just because I got to focus more on the social aspects this year, which was really fun. Because that's one of the biggest things I look forward to at NAMA, is seeing all my friends from around the country and meeting new people from around the world. So I got to focus more on that this year, which was a lot of fun, a lot more connections. And, with last year's being in North Carolina on the East Coast, I'm more familiar with like Eastern species, where Western species are very alien to me. So I'm glad I did take a back seat to also allow more time for learning, because I don't know a lot of Western species, and I learned a lot of new species this year that I'm really excited about. So yeah.
Wait a minute. So you're like me, because I did the same thing. I'm like, I'm new, but I'm getting to genus more often than I'm not, and starting to feel like I know a couple things. But I get to the Pacific Northwest and I'm like, are we on another planet? Everything's a little different. Wait, this is what your inocebees look like? They don't look anything like our inocebees. Plus,
Right.
everything's wet all the time. So I'm like,
Yes.
holy shit, you guys gotta identify these wet mushrooms all the time.
Yes, I made a comment at one point during the weekend, and I was like, the one thing I learned about the Pacific Northwest is 70% of their species are slimy. And that was a statement I made.
Yes. You're like, and everything's hygraphinous. Everything is slimy. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. At one point, Alan Rockefeller was showing, I can't remember, maybe it was like, I think it was me, Spencer Wimmer, and then my buddy Happy, a picture of a mycena that was like very gooey.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. I was like, is that just gooey because it's from here? And he's like, no. That's like, it generates this substance. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Because they all are kind of looking like that if there's enough rain. So let me ask you this. So, okay, 200,000 identifications, and are you mostly not even trying to mess with mushrooms that are not on the East Coast? I assumed you were just identifying everything everywhere.
I do identify everywhere, but like when I open my iNat, I do most of my identification on the app, which surprises a lot of people because it is hard to navigate on the app. But when I open up to ID, I just immediately search fungi in Eastern North America, and that's my like default search at this point. But yeah, occasionally when I'm like, okay, I'm kind of caught up for the day on these, I'll start looking, at North America in general. Sometimes I'll specify just Canada. Sometimes I get bored and go over to Europe or Australia and see what's over there.
Take a little iNat vacation. Yes.
Yeah. But my like hyper focus is polypores, and I feel like there's a lot of polypores that are very global. So like those are very easy to knock out, globally. And those were pretty much the only mushrooms I was familiar with out in the West when I was out there at NAMA. So, yeah.
I feel like, you identify way more than just polypores, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you identify a lot of my. I've not, and I try to notice that when people, I are IDing or confirming or not confirming your observations. Sometimes they're like, oh, you have a favorite, genus, and so you must have like a little notice, or you just only search for that, and that's what you want to keep up with. Yeah, you're pretty broad. You at any given time, I can fully expect if I upload a bunch of stuff, you'll probably hop on it. So nice. Now, what was your? This is a little off topic, NAMA. But how has that journey for you evolved in the beginning? Like, was iNat also a learning tool for you? Did you always know all of this? As like in the beginning, did you utilize it differently than you use it now?
So, I've only been studying mushrooms for about 8 years now. I joined iNat, I think 3.5 years ago now. So only about halfway through my mushrooming journey did I join that. And I kind of switched over mostly because I was in a lot of those like Facebook identification groups. And socially, they can get a little bit messy, and I was getting a little annoyed with all the nonsense. And I just was like, I want just clear-cut identifications. That's what I want. Keep it really straightforward. And INAT gave that to me. So I kind of left the Facebook world a little bit. I'm still definitely very active in the Facebook mushroom groups. But I transitioned more to iNaturalist too.
But if you ever just like get the urge to just tell somebody that's Umphilotus or that's an armillaria, then you just hop back in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does get to be a little one note. Now, I'll tell you what I do like, and you probably get this in INAT too, but I think it's a little more it's easier to see on Facebook, because it sure does show you the timing of mushrooms. And it also shows its range pretty interestingly, because you can be in a broad mushroom identification group and a mushroom will pop up within days of each other all over the place. And you're like, the weather and the temperature isn't even the same. How are they how are they doing this? So I do think that's cool about Facebook, but yeah, it gets a little much at times.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, like I like also like being able to recognize other great identifiers on iNaturalist who maybe aren't in those Facebook groups. And that gives you more opportunity to learn from other people too. And I have learned a lot on iNaturalist just by following certain people who are also very active identifying. And sometimes I find like just a really unique mushroom. I'm like, what the heck is that? I need to know what that is. And then I'll go down a rabbit hole and learn all about that mushroom. And now I can identify that mushroom for other people, you know?
Yes. All right, you know what? I just realized I did not upload this, and I had wanted to pull this up. So let me look for it. But while I'm looking for this photo, why don't you just briefly tell everybody? So you wrote a kid's book about mushrooms, which I love because I only have 2, and my kids have read them 100 times. So I cannot wait for this book to come out. Tell everybody a little bit about your new book.
Yeah, so I wrote Mushrooms and Fungi for Kids. It's aimed for kids ages like 6 to 12-ish, roughly. And I worked with Adventure Keen as my publisher on this, and they publish lots of really great nature guides. But my book is kind of broken down into like 3 main parts. So the main part, or the first part is like, just about what is fungi? What are the different types of fungi? What are their roles? What are their features and things like that? How do we interact with fungi, different kinds of fungi? How do insects interact with different fungi and things like that? Just different relationships and things like that. And then it kind of slowly transitions into mostly like mushrooms. And then the like middle section is kind of a basic field guide for mushrooms that occur all over the country. So it's not a, super like region specific book. It's all over the country. And we didn't cover edibility, because as kids, it's just trying to get kids interacting with mushrooms mostly. But then the last section is different activities you can do with mushrooms. I actually have one of the activities sitting next to me, so I'll just kind of hold it up. So I did like spore print art. So this was done with a Rustula. So like we covered, different types of art you can do. So we did the spore print art, artist conch art. I made mushroom wreaths, things like that. We talked about like doing a DIY bio blitz in your backyard and things like that. So I'm very excited for that to come out. It comes out May 6th, but it is available for pre-order now. So
love it. All right. I put that in the description. So if you want to pre-order that book for your kids or yourself, hey, don't be ashamed if you're brand new to mushroom foraging. Because man, I got people who watch this show, they're master cultivators, but take them out in the woods and they don't know what they're doing. I mean, and look, I'm no expert either, but like, get out in the woods, start somewhere, just start messing around with something and someone that knows more than you do, and slowly but surely it'll start coming around. Okay, so I found the thing that I wanted to show off here. Let me figure out how I want to do this. Take your overlay off. All right, I think I'm just going to do it this way. All right, guys. So this right here, super nerdy, exciting moment here. This is the top 3 fungal identifiers in the world on iNaturalist, all in the same spot. On your left, Alan Rockefeller, Ariel, and then on the right, John Plischke. And shockingly, John Plischke took a moment away from doing things to take this photo. It was impressive. He actually talked to me. I think we talked to each other for about 4 minutes. Now, he was doing things concurrently while he was talking to me.
Of course.
Yes. Yeah. So, and what is John up to? I mean, so you're at over 200,000. Alan's over 300 or close to over 300,000. And then John is he like 500,000 mushroom? Something ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. He's been on there for double the amount of time that I've been on there.
Yes. Oh, you're doing good.
I'm hoping I can at least be at the same rate that he's on,
Yes. So right there, guys, between the 3 of them, that's like 1 million identifications.
Mm-hmm.
That is pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. All right. Well, you got a book coming out. That must be exciting. And guess what? Just watch out. If that book sells well, they're going to be knocking on your door going, all right, Ariel, we want you to write us another book. So you better be
already did.
Oh, see, look at that. They loved your book so much. They haven't even sold a damn book yet. They're already going, write us another book.
Yes.
This is normal.
I'm currently negotiating another contract for another book.
Awesome.
It will be for adults, and I don't think I'm going to release the topic quite yet.
Oh yeah. No, you can't.
But
you can't.
I'm very
But it's going to be
excited.
about mushrooms, guys.
Yes.
I can pretty much guarantee that. Very cool. All right, that's awesome. All right, thank you for stopping by. We're going to keep going here, and then if you're still around at the end, we'll do a little round table.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. All right, guys. So who we got up next? All right. Okay, my buddy. All right. So I have been friends with her online for quite a while. She's been on the show before. We got to hang out at Myco Fest, which was great. I got to sample some of her cuisine at Myco Fest. She was out there. She had one NAMA's chopped. It's like their version of chopped for mushroom recipes. She had one. I guess she won. They paid for her ticket out to NAMA, but she still had to get to NAMA. She was out cooking food for people, connecting with people, sharing her passion and love with everybody. Her love for mushrooms, her love for cooking with mushrooms. And I'm going to tell you, she can cook with mushrooms. And I like to be friends with people who can cook. So anyway, we're going to pull her back on. And I was so excited to hear she's going to NAMA. So we had a good time. Now, I'm talking about the one and only Appalachian Ash. What's up?
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
There we go. All right. Now I will say this, though. We suck at getting a photo taken of ourselves, don't we? I mean, we just keep forgetting that. We're having too much fun hanging out with Myco Mamas and Philly Golden Teacher and whoever the hell we're hanging out with at the time. We just so next time we're together, someone remind us to get a freaking photo, please.
One of these times.
One of these times, yes. Just proof that we've hung out. All right, so you it all came together. You made it to NAMA. Tell me what you thought.
It was amazing. I mean, it was everything I could have ever wanted and more. I was there and I had FOMO because there was so much going on.
Yes. That's a real problem at NAMA's. There will be some major life-changing decisions you have to make, like, if I do this, I'm gonna miss this.
Yep.
It's hard.
Yeah. Forays, workshops, or lectures. It was like impossible to choose.
Yeah. So last year, I think I skewed pretty heavy on the workshops and lectures. I still somehow managed to have, I think for a hot minute, I was top 10 on observations from there. So I don't know how I did that. I guess I think I was on the prowl. I was like amidst that new energy of finding and bringing back mushrooms. This year I was like, I'm going to do more forays, but I'm just going to enjoy them. I'm not going to be because it's a job to collect mushrooms and bring them back, bring them back to the room and write out the slips and all that stuff. So I kind of slacked on my game. Happy killed me. He submitted way more stuff than me, but
that was me. I was like, okay, I won the scholarship to go out here. I am literally going to just go out and enjoy it. And I've never been to the Pacific Northwest. So I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do forays. I'm going to go out. I'm going to see the sights. I'm going to, put my feet on the ground and touch the trees and do all that kind of stuff. So I didn't really do so much of the workshops or lectures. I tried to get in there, but yeah. And for the INAT stuff, it was like, I went in the voucher room and I was like, oh, like I could do this or I could be outside.
Right.
And yeah, it's a job. I think I had one observation, and nice. It was like, I don't want to sit in here and fill out the slips, and I don't want to do this. I've had weekends where I've done that.
Yes, kudos.
Where I've filled out slips and done. I don't want to do that this weekend. So. Yeah.
But okay, tell me, because I want your perspective. I when I saw my first ID room last year, it kind of blew my mind. I mean, it was just so many tables, and they have all the little placards up of the different families or orders, for different types of mushrooms. And I was like, man, they are so dialed. It is so insane what a well-oiled machine it is. And then now with like all the barcoding they're doing, what was your take on seeing it at that scale?
I guess I kind of expected that because like I've seen it on a smaller scale. So I figured, for sure it would be, and it was overwhelming at first, but they did a great job organizing the tables and numbering the forays so that even if you didn't know the name of the foray, you could just pinpoint your table on where you needed to go. And then they had everybody taking those and then reorganizing them. It was definitely a well-oiled machine. Like those are the heroes, I feel like I went there and I had fun and I enjoyed myself, and it was entertaining. Like that is what I went there for, and to see the sights and all that. Those people were doing the work for sure.
Yeah. All right, Pacific Northwest, your first time there. I had never been to that area, so I had a bit of an understanding. That was like the most Pacific Northwesty I had been in, other than maybe Vancouver Island. But tell me your take.
Well, I think the lecture, I can't remember her name, the woman that did the first evenings,
Regina.
Oh my gosh, Regina,
yeah,
the best. Cool. I felt like that was perfect, and it really set up everything that I was to see that weekend, and put everything into perspective that we are in a rainforest. It's legit a rainforest, and that's exactly what it looks like when you go out there. And it looks like something straight out of the dinosaurs. Everything's huge. Yeah. And, they have those big Dougie firs. Like, how cute is that name, right? So, and they're just massive and giant. It's all the moss and the osnea and everything it's just so beautiful.
I'm with you. It doesn't get old. It's very picturesque.
I think flying in was really when it hit me like, oh shit, look at all the conifers. Like it is not like the leaves are changing and at home. Right. And then to see not even a single like deciduous tree as I'm landing, it was pretty breathtaking.
I loved it. And then how about them big leaf maple leaves though, man? Like,
I'll never get over those.
I know.
I was like, is that a sycamore? No, they don't. Oh, that's one of those big leaf maples that Regina was talking about.
Did not get that name wrong. No. And then I'm just sitting there thinking, holy shit, these maple trees don't stand a chance that the only one that survived is the one that made their leaves this freaking big just to try to compete with all those conifers. Yeah, it is truly just conifer heaven up there. It's pretty great. All All right. So is there a new chopped contest, or are you going for a second title?
So it's a 1-win thing. You win,
Okay.
and then they pick a new person the next time.
Okay.
But you can still compete if you want, and I love that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, why not?
I'm with you.
If
Plus,
the creativity comes to me the way it came to me with this one.
I had it. It was amazing. But you also had like 3 other dishes at Myco Fest, and they were all freaking phenomenal. I'm telling you,
Well,
you
now-
and Don King need to write a freaking book, dude. You guys can both cook mushrooms like it's nobody's business.
That polypore pasta, the parsnip polypore pasta,
it was
I'm
great.
now making and selling because like people
I am
like it
sure
that
you
much.
are. Yeah, that was great, man. That's so good.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm getting hungry, and I already ate dinner, so no more talking about your food. We can't do that. All right. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. Hopefully, you go into next year's NAMA. It's going to be way
For
closer
sure.
to your neck of the woods.
Yeah, I'm excited. After going this year, I feel like there's no way I can't go next year.
Right?
Especially if it's going to be in my neck of the woods. And I know so
Yeah.
many people up in that area where I think it's going to be.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited.
Awesome. Cool. All right. I got a couple more people to get through, and then we'll do this round table. Right. All right. Who we got next? All right. Couple of my favorite people. I'm talking about the Myco Mamas. All right, so guys, let me just tell you right now. Very excited that I got to hang with the Myco Mamas. Not only did I get to hang with the Myco Mamas, I got to hang with them in their RV. It was super chill. A couple other people I'm not gonna mention got to hang out with. Yeah, these ladies are everything they say they are. They are fun. They are cool. They are amazing ambassadors for a lot of the stuff that I stand for and believe in on the show. So let me just stop talking about them and bring them on. What's up, ladies?
Hi, how you doing?
I am good. You guys in the lab. You guys
Yeah.
cranking it out. I love it.
It was the best lighting in the house. The rest of the house is pretty dark because it gets dark around 4 o'clock now.
Oh, I know. What is up with daylight savings time? We were just talking about this. I feel like it's almost worse than it's ever been. Like, what is going on?
It's
Seems like
dark
it's-
out there, dark and rainy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's been raining
right.
since NAMA.
It never stopped. It just kept going. All right. So I remember telling you guys, I mean, come on. You got to go to any NAMA that's that close to you. Did I steer you wrong? Did you have a
Absolutely
good
not.
time? All right.
It was
good.
amazing. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, now I'm going to tell all the viewers watching. So I show up. I'm like, cool. Can't wait to, finally click up with Myco Mamas. I roll into Happy and I are trying to get to our first foray. They go, oh, you got to go get your little registration pack first. So I go in to get the registration pack. Who is the first person I freaking see when I walk in that room? Mama S. And of course she's going on and, oh, I didn't realize you were so tall. You're so tall. I don't know. Anyway, I guess I look short on this camera. Whatever. I'm not. I'm not the tallest guy in the room, but I'm not the shortest guy in the room. And then Mama D's out. She helps get me my pack. So I'm sitting there going, so they didn't just go to NAMA. They volunteered to help out. This is who these women frickin' are. They are a part of the community. They will become a part of any community event that they go to. I cannot commend you guys enough. I know it's just who you are. I know you can't help it. It's just how you are. But I think it's great. And I think you guys are doing a lot of good things for the community. So thank you so much for that. And I'm glad you guys came.
We were certainly happy to help them out. It was a monumental undertaking, that whole event. And since we were doing our presentation, they let us roll in a night early. And so we just offered to hang out. And yeah, we had 300 packets and t-shirts to sort. And they were trying to put everything together. And it's amazing that they pulled it off. Because they pulled it off really, really well. It looked seamless by the time people walked in the door.
It did.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
Yeah.
I was very impressed. Now,
And they had really cool T-shirts and pillowcases and this really great, full color
mhm.
brochure with all the stuff, and it was amazing.
You just showing me that little crinkled up brochure made me think of something. We were on a foray with the Shannon Adams, and she had this pristine, it was the Noel Siegel Christian Schwartz book.
Oh,
And they're pulling it out. She's like, "Oh, let's use the she's like, let's use the book to try to ID something." And I'm like, "Not in the rain. It's gonna get all
Right?
whacked." And I'm sitting there going, "What are you doing to your pristine, beautiful book?" And she's just like, I'm like, she's just used to it, just getting rained all over and dirt. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, yes, I am spoiled over here. I can choose to not go mushroom hunting when it is raining because enough days it's dry. I'm like, I guess they do not have that luxury up there. Stuff just has to get wet.
Doesn't work like that here.
Yes. All right. So what was your guys' favorite thing? What were things that you were surprised you enjoyed? Just give me kind of some of your experience of everything.
Well, we decided to take the beginner's mushroom course with John Summer and what was the other gal?
Rachel.
With Rachel.
Oh,
And
I remember her last name.
because we know nothing about, like, I could identify 3 mushrooms.
We're those
From-
people that can cultivate all day long indoors,
Right.
and then we're like, what's outside? We
Right,
don't know.
right. We don't know. The only time I ever brought a mushroom in from outside, it was full of bugs, and I was like, yeah, no. But then
So how was that? I actually thought that looked. I saw the room it was in, and I'm like, oh, I think this is probably well done.
The beginner's course?
yeah,
Mhm.
it was really, really great. They had great slideshows, and we actually got a copy of both Dr. Bute's book and Noah and Chris's book
Mhm.
as part of signing up for the class. And so essentially for the cost of the 2 books, we got,
got the
the class as well. And they
That's
took us out
amazing.
on a foray, and we got to learn how to use the book, which was fantastic. And Noah came in and talked to us, and it was a very comprehensive course. It was the first year that they've offered it. So John's been trying to get them to offer it, and they finally agreed, and it was great.
That's amazing. We were in the room where it occurred because we were supposed to go to a microscopy workshop, and
Right.
I was just kind of looking at how it was set up, and I'm like, wow, whoever is running this beginner's workshop is not messing around. They mean business. These people are going to learn about some stuff. So that's really cool to hear. Hopefully they keep doing that.
Yeah, they said they're planning on next year as well. But yeah, we couldn't say enough about that beginner's mushroom course, because if we would have just gone out there and gone in the woods and started collecting mushrooms, I don't know how much we would have learned. But
Sure.
we felt pretty confident going out foraging and foraying for ourselves after taking the class.
That's awesome.
So
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome feedback.
and we loved the evening lectures. There wasn't anything that we didn't love about it.
Yeah.
Well, no, there was nothing.
No, it was fun.
It was the only thing that we didn't love is that we couldn't, there was so many things going on all at once, and you have to make the choice on what you want to see, and you're just going to miss something. So,
You're
we
just
met
going to
awesome
miss some.
people.
Yes.
Met awesome people, and
We didn't know who anybody was, though. There was
Nope.
some very, very big name people in the mushroom
Yeah.
community, and we had no clue.
yeah,
Well, I mean,
was fun.
so, but you, right? Okay, so you don't know who Noel Siegel is, but you saw his keynote speech. You don't have
Yeah,
to
we
know
knew
who
who
he
he
is.
was
That
by
was
the time we
amazing,
did it.
right?
I know, but he walked in, and I
Right.
was
Oh, I
directing
see.
him to the registration, and then I was talking to this other gal, Eleanor, and these are people that are on the NAMA board, and
Right.
I mean, just incredibly fun, nice
they're
people.
like, do you know who that is? And we're
No.
like, no.
Mhm.
So I'm like, you guys are gonna have to give me a clue if there's royalty in the house, because I have no idea.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, man, I'm gonna tell you. So Regina's keynote was amazing. I think the first keynote at all NAMAs, I've only been to 2. It seems to be like a lay of the land. They pick somebody who really has some geographical expertise that kind of just gets you situated, so you understand where you are, what to expect. She was amazing, and then to follow that with Christian Schwartz had just such a cool presentation. And then Noah, dear God, I'm gonna tell you right now, when he started talking about New Zealand, I was like, okay, I guess I got to move to New Zealand now.
Right? That was
We were
his
kind of doing the
picture.
same thing.
His pictures were absolutely amazing.
Ugh,
But yeah, I liked, even with having lived in this area my whole life, listening to what Regina had to say about it, I'm like, wow, okay, I didn't know that, and I didn't know that. I do know that we're in the middle of all these volcanoes, but
right.
yeah. So
Yeah, it's
that
great.
was
You
really
hang out
cool.
with a bunch of really smart people that know a lot about mushrooms, and some of it starts rubbing off on you. Yeah, it's
Yep.
cool.
We did learn a lot.
We learned a lot. Our brains got full.
I really actually like Noah and Chris's book.
Yeah,
It's easy to use.
It makes sense. My brain works kind of the way it's laid out, and I've been able to do some identification, which is kind of nice, because before I'd get frustrated. But after the beginner's class and now this book,
Man.
I'm like,
that's a
That's-
great pitch for that class. You go from 0 to, yeah, I feel competent to use this book. I'm out in the woods. Am I eating mushrooms? I mean, that's awesome.
3 out of the 4 mushrooms we pulled off, because we went and foraged a bunch, and then we just went back and used the books to try to identify them, and we were able to identify 3 out of the 4. Of course, Mama S is better with the tree identification, so we had this little
Douglas fir pine cone.
it was a Douglas fir pine cone, had a little
Mycena on it or something.
No, it was an
earpick mushroom.
hedgehog pokey things underneath
Oh,
it.
hedgehog, okay.
Hedgehog gills.
Yeah. But anyways, we identified it,
Nice.
that book, and so it's literally 0 to
That's so
so,
cool.
yeah.
The food was good. The getting together in the evening, and when the night they were serving all the drinks, and the Halloween thing, we got to go to all these different stations and get different treats and stuff like that. Bags of woody mushrooms and cookies made with candy cap. And
Although the best part was getting to hang with you and Happy.
Oh,
and
shut up.
And
That was great. Yeah, I had a blast. I ate all your pretzels. I think Happy and I finished off all.
oh no, we got more pretzels.
They had a bag of those like $4 million Dots pretzels. Oh my God, they're so good. Yeah. Yeah, that was a great time. That was good to just hang. It's hard to carve out little bits of time like that. Obviously, having an RV made it way more doable. Had that not been the case, we would have just had to sit under a tree and get rained on. But yeah, I'm so glad you guys. I'm glad you guys had fun. I really sold you hard and said like you're gonna just have an absolute blast, and I was pretty sure you would. But I'm definitely glad you did. And to have you be like, yeah, we're out foraging and we're using Noah and Christian's book to ID mushrooms. That's really cool. That's very exciting.
the presentation went well too.
Oh yeah, so let's talk about that. We'll obviously on another show I want to get into more detail about how you actually do it. But so we've had you on before talking about, using the freeze dryer and epoxying the mushrooms, but you guys actually gave a presentation and got to present that concept to other people. How did that go? What did they think? You got people in your DMs now asking you, how to do this and that?
No, not many people have freeze dryers, but our presentation was full, and people were very interested in the process, but they really didn't know what to make of it, because we had a display table there with our epoxied mushrooms, because we ran out really fast and epoxied a whole bunch of mushrooms from the Pacific Northwest. And so I think this one's pretty cool. And so we had all these mushrooms on the table, and people would come up and there was no sign that said what it was. And so then we wrote a handwritten side there, like, were like, these are totally epoxy preserved mushrooms. So there was a lot more interest in it once we put a sign on it, because people just didn't know what it was, thought they were plastic mushrooms or something like that. So that was very fun. But yeah, there was a little bit of interest in that. But
yeah, I still
never
think
know.
that's
It was
really
fun.
cool, man. Like for a mushroom museum or something, right? Because all these holotypes, they get dried. And
Right.
that's great. But man, if I discovered a new mushroom right now and I'm writing the paper and I'm gonna, submit some stuff to an herbarium, man, that'd be cool to also submit a freeze-dried mushroom that then maintains its actual stature, its actual morphology, maybe some slight coloration changes, but definitely not as much coloration changes you see from air drying a mushroom. I still think
Right.
it's really neat. I can imagine you guys having like a mushroom museum at some point. That's my daydream of where that goes.
Hanging out with you guys.
Sorry, I lost you for about, I don't know, 6 seconds.
I said it sure was fun meeting you guys and hanging out with you.
Yeah,
We had a great time.
same.
Thank you for urging us to go and getting our tickets
good.
early.
Good. All right, guys. I got one more, and then we're all gonna powwow here in a second. So I'll talk to you in a bit. All right, guys. Here we go. All right. So last up, my brother from another mother, homie down the street. We're talking about the one and only Happy Hyphae. What's up, dude?
What's up, man?
Hey, man. So yeah, let's so I've been trying to just talk Happy into going and doing all this crap with me all the time. And he's he went to Mexico with me, had a good time, went up here. So how was the Pacific Northwest for you?
I loved it. I never been out west like that before, and just the scenery was awesome. And there's definitely no shortage of mushrooms out there. Around here, you kind of got to look around, and out there, you can just like get down on your knees and just find hundreds of species. It seemed like if you sat there long enough.
Yeah. Yeah, man. All right. So, I mean, we hung out the whole time, so I know the answers to most of these questions, but everybody else doesn't. So we'll ask them anyway. What was your favorite thing that we did out there?
I just liked walking around and checking out the ID tables after everybody brought all the stuff back. That one bolete that they had on the table, it was like, that thing was huge.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely just cool to walk around and check out all the different tables and see everything that everybody brought back.
I agree. Yeah. There's probably no other situation, no other event in the country in a given year where you're going to be able to walk into a single room and know that mushrooms are organized and properly identified by family or order. And you can just look at an entire table or multiple tables of boletes or Hypholoma or polypore or whatever. Yeah, it's a great opportunity to get to see a lot of mushrooms, maybe get to still see what they smell like, what they feel like, all that stuff. I could not agree more. I think the ID tables are definitely a great learning, because when you're on a foray, you're only going to see so many mushrooms, but man, you walk into that room and it's like, okay, here's 580 species of mushrooms to check out. So yeah, I like that too. Now we struggled. We tried to find, man, we were on the hunt. Of course, we wanted to find some psilocybe, and we had all sorts of fun, man. We brought some Hyphalomas back. We thought they were psilocybe. We brought some Mycenas back. We thought they were psilocybe. And then finally, we had somebody on the validation crew say, hey, you know what? Why don't you go up this road, go wander around over there. And we finally found them. To tell people a little bit about that experience, about trying to trying to find a little teeny tiny psilocybe?
Well, obviously we've never seen it before in real life, so we're just out there looking around, and there's just so many little mushrooms that we just kept thinking we had it. And what was it? Sometimes, a couple times, it was like Galerena, and then another time it was
too,
yeah. And then that one time we were taking pictures of it, thinking it was it, and like Epiloma or whatever. So, and then when we did finally find it, it was like we pretty much had everything else that could be knocked out, so it just had to be that. And
yeah, once we ID'd every other mushroom that was not Folliculosa, then the one little patch of mushrooms that we found, you were like, okay, finally we figured it out. Yeah. That was it was cool to see. I definitely love seeing psilocybe in situ, where they grow, all that stuff. But man, just I'm with you. In general, just the sheer quantity of mushrooms there, I'd just be like raking my yard the other day, just thinking about, man, I just took one step in one direction and I couldn't not see mushrooms wherever I frickin' looked. I'd never had that experience before. It's pretty cool. All right, dude, I dig your shirt, man. What is the shirt you got? Are those zaps?
Picture of some zaps that we found in Mexico.
I like it, dude. I like it. Cool, man. Well, we're definitely gonna keep having some fun going to different places. I'm glad we got to hang out and go do that. You're a very easygoing guy, easy to hang out with. I mean, dude, you're not hearing it right now, but Happy will just be cracking jokes like literally nonstop. You can't. I'm telling you. Anyway, yes. Hopefully, we'll get the jokes out of him one of these days. But yeah, dude. Thanks for hanging out. Let's pull everybody back in because I think I'm hitting this time just about perfect. And we'll do a little powwow in here.
All right, sounds good.
All right. We got the Brady Bunch back. I think Aaron will be back. It's okay. He'll hop on in a second. Okay, guys. So let's do a little.
I'm gonna hop in here real quick.
Oh. There we go. Okay, I knew you'd hear us. Now we got the Brady Bunch back. Hold on, let me.
That's echo.
I'm gonna try to get rid of that echo here. There we go. Okay. All right. So this is, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of the Ken. How many people were there? 450, something like that.
Yes, 350.
350.
300 mostly. We had 50 students on the first night.
Okay, cool.
Evergreen students.
That was that whole little thing. Who came up with that idea? That was kind of cool. How Bueg brought.
Yeah, that was fun, huh? I mean, they brought an interesting energy because they're all younger people learning mycology. So yeah, that was fun. It took some work to get that done. You know, it's tough to negotiate these things with folks, but we got it done. So I was glad to have them there. So
nice. Okay, so about 350. All right, so this is not quite 10 out of 350 people. So guys, just imagine this, right? We got 9 people here. Imagine a room full of 350 people listening to Noel Siegel or Regina or Christian Swartz, you know, just experts, people who've utterly devoted their entire lives to mushrooms. They're expert mycologists, and just the energy. So let's just talk a little bit. I want to hear from people, whoever wants to talk about this. Talk about that energy that happens at a NAMA Foray when you're just around so many cool people, so many enthusiastic people, so many experts, so many people with knowledge and happy to share it.
I'll chime in really quick because I don't know how much longer I can be on this call. I do have to go in a second. Good to see everybody. Too bad I didn't get to meet some of you. But yeah, it was definitely like the red list, the red carpet of A-list mycology folk out there for sure. And I got to give a little plug to my channel when this podcast is over. You got to hop over to Mushroom Wonderland, and I just uploaded my experience at NAMA today. So it's like a 45-minute video, and I kind of just went around and like did little short interviews with people and kind of showed just what Sisyphus Camp looks like and the forest there, and then our foray with Gordon Walker, Geeky, you're in the episode and stuff. And so I was just like starstruck by some of the people that, and it was so cool because a lot of these people I've just met on the internet and I didn't get to see know who they were. Like Happy, like he posted that picture and I was going, who is Happy Hype? I was trying to like put it together, and then I'm like, oh, it all, and then I got to connect a lot of the dots. So that was the coolest thing for me, for sure.
Cool, man. Yeah, well, I'll get the link for that and make sure it's in the description. 45-minute overview. I saw you working. I saw you interviewing people. I frickin' didn't mean to, but I think I ruined or at least butted in on one of your interviews without realizing it. So advanced apologies for that. But yeah, we'll make sure people get to check that out. That's 45 minutes, not of people talking about it, but actual footage of being there and seeing what it looks like. I definitely hope people get inspired to go to a NAMA Foray, especially if it's remotely close to you. So, yeah dude.
I'm hoping to be at the next one next year, and definitely check out David's event up there. I don't know.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you're pretty close.
Yeah. David.
There you go.
He's the man. And the Olympic Fungi Festival is awesome. Ken, thank you for everything you've done there. Geeky, of course, Happy, and you ladies that I didn't really get the chance to meet this time, but hopefully next time around we'll connect a little bit. So
cool, man. Yeah, dude, that's great. Can't wait to see you next year. And everybody go check out. I mean, I'm pretty sure most everybody knows your channel. If you don't, Mushroom Wonderland is a phenomenal YouTube channel. You get to follow Aaron around, and man, I tell you what, if you watch those things a few times and you watch all the shows, you're gonna learn a shit ton about the mushrooms up in the Pacific Northwest. So please check him out. Yeah, man.
Also,
thanks for
I just want to chime in real quick. I did attend the lecture. I didn't get to go out on the foray with you guys on the second day that you had, and even though like I'm not like super social media, a lot of the things that y'all even talked about were helpful tips that I can use on my personal forays when I take people out locally. It's just a different perspective that I don't see, like if I'm just as an educator on a foray, that I thought was helpful too.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it went well. The whole thing was cool. So I'm still reeling from it. And it was, over a week ago. It was just such a cool event. Glad to be there. So
cool, man.
Hey, thanks a lot. I'll have to come out to your neck of the woods, Geeky, and make a video out there sometime.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yes. All right, cool, man. Yeah, if you got to bounce, it's all good.
Yeah, take care. Much love.
All right, see ya.
Continue, man.
I think my favorite thing, okay, so like with NAMA and a lot of other mushroom events, it's great, like the workshops and lectures and stuff. But I think my most favorite thing is the organic connections you make just running into people and the things you learn organically from running into people. Like, oh, your interest is this. And then it doesn't take much for somebody to start wanting to talk about their interest. And then you've just learned something and that was free. And now you also have a friend. So, I just.
Yes. Yeah. Man, the little moments is what it's all about. I mean, Ken's busy just making the perfect program so that you're constantly in internal turmoil trying to figure out what to go to. Because I mean, he's a little spoiled, right? Because all the cool kids want to go to NAMA. So it's not always, if I put together a festival in Akron, Ohio, I would not have the same luxury of who's going to be there. But yeah, it's the little things, the little moments, hanging out with the Myco mamas in the RV, or, Happy and I failing miserably like 3 times until we finally found that Peliculosa we were looking for. Little things like that. And then sometimes it's even just watching other people's little moments. Like seeing other people see a mushroom that really gets them excited. I mean, in general, just whatever enthusiasm that is occurring is pretty easy to be infected by that enthusiasm.
Yeah, and that vibe, that mushroom festival vibe or foray vibe, I don't know, it really is something that's special. And I feel like something that, like I said, we have people come to the event that we do that just have no experience with mushrooms at all. And it's like a common piece of feedback is like, oh my gosh, the vibe was just really amazing. And, we can bring that many people together with so little drama or, incidents or people upset. Everybody's just there and happy and excited to learn and get engaged. And so it is a really different atmosphere that people seem to really like, oh, wow, this is nice.
I have to say,
go, yes,
okay,
sir.
I have to say it being my first time in that sort of event with mushroom people, I just can't say enough. There was so many people that I had no idea, like Ken, this guy, he was our guide for so many things. And he was just so kind and gracious and had everything. He's like totally under control. You would never know that you were amongst royalty, really. I mean, these people are writing these books, the things they've done, and they were just sweet. And I mean, they could care less if I was brand new or not. They were like, if you want to know something, you want to learn, we're here. And they were just good. Yeah. NAMA it's a good place to get involved.
The only thing I more time is just to get more people and talk to more people. There was just these little moments in between whatever we were doing. Of course, we were in the beginner's class for 6 hours a day, 2 days in a row.
Right.
But yeah. So if we would have
but would you do that again?
Absolutely.
Yes. I mean, you probably got, if somebody created that curriculum somewhere else, you probably got like a $1,200 2-day master class on everything.
Our brains definitely got full, and they just kept pushing the information. And then they were kind enough to share the slideshows with us so we can study even more.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
Yeah. And they were like, just if you find a mushroom and you can't ID it using the book, just email me with the pictures. I'll help you with it. So
everybody's like that. They're like, oh yeah, totally. Just connect. Like, yeah,
that's amazing.
That's what I love about this community. Everybody allows themselves to be so accessible and just such a humble, regular way.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, do you ever think it would be like if your thing was basketball? It would be like there's an event where you just literally get to play basketball with LeBron James and Michael Jordan and whoever, you know what I mean? Like it really is a unique vibe where you get and then even like Andy Wilson and Bueg and all that. Dude, I'm telling you, Bueg at one point, and sorry if I call him Bueg and not Dr. Bueg. If he was my professor, I would definitely call him Dr. Bueg. But he started talking about being on a foray with Alexander Smith, and I'm like, stop a minute, stop. What did you say when you were on a foray with Alexander Smith? What? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's really cool. You get an opportunity. The first one, right? You're like, okay, cool. I just met this guy. The next one, maybe he's not at every single one, but he'll be at another one. And then you go, oh, I met you. Now I know you a little bit more. I got questions for you now. And people will answer them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That access to all these people with so much experience. And I'm like, I think I spent a lot of time in the woods. These people have been in the woods for 5 decades.
Right.
I think I ID'd a couple mushrooms today. Ariel probably ID'd 1,600 mushrooms today already.
I'm at 800 for today.
Yeah, I did. I think I did the math one time. I was trying to figure out how many Alan Rockefeller had to ID per day if he did this for the last 20 years. And I'm not going to say what the number was, but I was like, okay, yep. That's
catching up.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah.
The other thing that we should mention is if somebody isn't going to be near where the annual NAMA Foray is, NAMA does lots of regional events, and they are going to have, I think they were talking about doing one in Brookings, Oregon coming up or
Ooh.
something like that. So there's going to be, even if we don't travel across the country for the next one, because I don't know if we want to go someplace without our RV, but but we'd really like to attend more events like that are close to us. And so you don't have to wait for the annual foray. There's other things going on with NAMA.
All right. So Ken, I think you were actually talking to me one day about this, about trying to get more regional forays on the calendar. Anything you can add to that at this point?
Yeah, I mean, well, there is going to be probably one in Oregon. We're just not sure if it's this year or the next year. My local organization is called the CYO that we do SOMA camp in. I got approval from them to do a NAMA camp, so we're exploring when that could work. We're talking about Alaska. Noah is writing a book about Alaska, right, with Steve Trudell and I forgot who else. So maybe 2026 or something like that. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too much,
Nice.
but we're talking about it. Just other places like someplace in Canada would be fun. Hawaii was discussed.
Nice.
Let's Nova Scotia,
Mexico. Mexico, that's still North America, right? I don't know.
Go see Zach and Kim. They're doing their Mexico thing every year, pretty much.
Yeah, and that's phenomenal. I mean, right? You got to live up to that North America part in your
That's
name.
true.
Yes,
that's true. Yes.
I like that.
Yeah, so trying to embrace that. We were just talking today about like all the places we want to go, and we do want to try to do like a regional, maybe on the opposite side of the country from the main one. And the time frames are different too. So,
right.
and it's just a question of getting enough people to do all that. It's still pretty much a volunteer organization, right? So, you got to get motivated people who are willing to help and stuff like that. And I mean, like you guys, Myco Mamas, you stepped in and helped. You just, helped out on the registration. You're helping in the socials. I know several other people here were helping, and that's important, and that's what makes it happen. So, that's great.
Yeah, I love that.
It's a great way to get to know people. If you help, sign them in.
You're like, I have your registration packet. You have it. All right, so Ken, you came up with the social media workshop. I think that's super smart. I think it's at this point, it would almost be ignorant to ignore the fact that the interest in fungi is hugely being driven not just by amazing shows like Fantastic Fungi and even the now what am I thinking of? The Michael Pollan book that they made into a Netflix special, right? How to Change Your Mind, yeah. Like there are these little pop culture shows that we're watching, but really, truly, it's the online social media, Facebook, Instagram. It's this online myceliation that's occurring with everybody. So that, because if I just watched a cool movie and I couldn't talk to a million people about it, then I just watched a cool movie. Who cares? It's the fact that I can now go, that inspired me to want to go to this mushroom festival or go maybe try to grow a mushroom, right? The time lapses in Fantastic Fungi surely got a boatload of people wanting to grow some mushrooms on their kitchen counter. Let's talk a little bit, everybody's thoughts on this. The role that social media should be playing, how it can responsibly contribute, right? Because we don't want the riffraff. You don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. You kind of want to right size what is probably a bit of hype at this point. Like there's definitely some hype going on. So, right, like there are people that could go to NAMA and go, yeah, I don't get it, right? Like I don't like mushrooms. Those people exist. It's hard for us to believe it, but they do. So, like, what really matters? That can be occurring on social media. I think a few of you guys probably got some ideas on this.
I think Ariel's doing a great job just doing all these IDs. I mean, before COVID, if you didn't know what a mushroom was, you'd have to go to your local mushroom club, drag it to the table. People would like look at it and make guesses, and you'd be hearing Latin names and you wouldn't know what that meant anyway.
Yeah.
So now, it's online. If you have a mushroom from your backyard, you can just take a picture and put it online. And there's all these ID forums on Facebook and stuff. And so it's really changed how mushroom clubs work too, because they no longer are, worried about trying to do a bunch of IDs at the beginning of their meetings. So.
Oh yeah. See, I never even thought about that. Yeah. That's occurring more, not real time, but in much closer to real time than it probably used to.
Yeah. There's a lot of change in the mushroom world in the last few years, and COVID, of course, drove everybody to be home or on Zoom or whatever. Yeah. But then everybody went out and looked for mushrooms, and now it's we're calling it the shroom boom. I don't know if that's what you guys call it, but
oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You bring up a good point too. Because it really is true. If and I tell people, if you want to get an ID, you just do your best, put it on INAT. If it's wrong, someone will correct it. But if you really want an ID, get the ID really wrong on purpose, and then it'll get corrected really fast. And then 19 people in a private forum will be talking about how dumb you are, and then you're sitting back going, oh, "I got that ID I was looking for. All I had to do was, yeah." But that feedback is crazy. I mean, I've had experts. I've had like the world expert of that genus correct me or ask me a question about something. Where was this? I'm noticing something. That level of engagement. I mean, where else? You can't get that anywhere else. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. It's very cool. It's a real powerful learning tool for sure.
Yeah, I think it surprises a lot of people when I tell people that I use social media for a majority of my learning when I first started. Joining those initial like Facebook identification groups and, using those to assist when you're trying to identify your own mushrooms that you're finding. And then like learning who's who in those groups and who to really pay attention to, who knows what they're talking about, and really following their identifications. And that's, really how I learned what I'm doing is following all these really great identifiers and seeing how they're identifying certain things. And if they explain their identifications is extra helpful, obviously. And so like I loosely have a ton of mentors who don't even know that they're my mentor, really, just because I followed them on these Facebook groups, and I did a ton of learning with that, really. So I think it's super useful.
That's like the virtual version of I remember being at the ID table last year, and Arlene Bassett was looking at a couple specimens, and I had one, and I thought it was the name that was written down was not what I thought it was. I can't remember what this mushroom was now. And I said, hey, can you tell me why they labeled this one this? I actually thought it was something else. And she picks it up. Of course, the first thing she does is smell it, because that's you quickly learn that can be a quick tell for a lot of mushrooms. Anyway, she smells it, but then she looks around and she goes, "Do you see this right here?" And she just like she wiggled a piece of the veil. And she said something like, if it does this, then it's this mushroom, but if it does that, it's another mushroom. And I'm just like, that shit is not in a book. There's no book for that. Do you know how much digestion of material? Because when they describe a holotype in some paper or even in like a really important, well done book, it's just describing, the annulus, the capsize, it just has a bunch of word descriptors for it. But when you actually are out with these people, the old heads, the OGs that really know what's up, they're never just going, it's this color, it's 3 centimeters, and that's they're always doing some weird ass thing that is the way they actually ID the mushroom. But Ariel, you're saying like you can kind of get some of that online. It's maybe not quite as good as being right there with them, but it's the closest thing to that. Mm-hmm. I think that's really cool. I think
there's a whole Facebook group even that I forget the title of it, but it's like, I think it's titled something like What Your Field Guide Doesn't Tell You or something like that. And it's just these weird features that aren't in our books and things like that. So I think that specific group is kind of fun to learn weird things about in.
Yeah, and do you know there's a Facebook group, it's like all infographics. I think Alicia Millikins, I don't know if she runs it or she's at least a mod in it. But those are great too, because then you're going, okay, they're like some classic tropes of identification. Like these are so commonly confused, but so easy to get straight if you just look at the right things. Those little infographics have been amazing learning tools for me as well. Yeah,
absolutely. When I teach classes, there's a few people who make those infographics that I ask, like, hey, can I borrow some of these for my classes? And just because I think they're the best way to portray some of the information, some of the visual characteristics. So yeah.
So what else though? What else about online? What are we not doing online?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think we definitely, there's definitely a correlation with the interest in mushrooms growing in social media, and maybe part of that being because we were all stuck at home for a while, on our phones. But I think one of the big things we can start doing, it's just something I feel like I interact with a lot at the markets, is really transitioning that thought process where it's not just about food. There's so many different ways we can appreciate fungi and what they're doing for the world and the ecosystem around us. And the fact that they are so underdocumented, AFP came up and did a little news story with Graham Steinruck and Amy Honan. And I was just kind of pulling that up again and confirming, but we know, or estimated know, about 98% of, the vertebrate animals on this planet, and we've only documented about 6% of fungi, and so just that opportunity just to discover something new, I mean, it's possible for any of us, if you start getting into fungi and getting out there and getting down and digging through the brush, I mean, you could find something totally new and undiscovered, and I think that can really get people excited that have not been excited about mushrooms, and maybe not even so excited about getting outside and getting reconnected with nature, and that's something that we're really missing. So I think that's really cool, and getting to see Graham Steinruck and Amy Honan really transition the talk this year at the event from just what mushrooms are edible and how to ID to more about that full picture of ecology, and what is this mushroom doing, and what is it interacting with around it, and how is it, we were able to use like a restoration site that was a former dam removal site, and what role might this fungi be playing in restoring this habitat, and there's so many unknowns with fungi that I think just kind of changing that conversation and really engaging people in the unknown and what can we discover.
Yeah, man, I think it's almost like, right, we learned about plants and animals growing up, just plants and animals. That's it. That's all that matters, plants and animals. And for me, that's like this old modernist perspective, right? Well, those are the only ones that matter to us. These are the ones we make money off of, or they're us, or we eat them or ride them or whatever. I feel like for me, what's so significant about this fungal interest, this fungal awareness that we're going through right now, is it's just showing you like, but our picture was skewed. It is all one thing. The planet is one thing. There are little parts of it. We can break it down. We can create taxa here and there and all that. But the fungus is utterly crucial to everything. And so it is almost, for me, it's like a metaphor. Like, I just love mushrooms. It doesn't have to be a metaphor, but it is also a metaphor of like a deeper understanding of our ecology. And like Dave's saying, it's just like a more full picture of things. Yeah, I think that's big.
Well, and if I can throw something else at you, this idea that anybody, anywhere can contribute to all of this.
Yes.
Is huge, right?
Yep.
And yeah, it used to be you'd have to go to the ivory tower, you'd have to study under somebody, you'd have to physically be there. On this call, like how many places are we all in, right? Talking to each other, helping each other, learn whatever, share information. That's something that's never been around.
It's crazy. We're myceliating.
Yeah.
I feel like there's more of an appreciation from the people that are, more academic in the mycology field for people that are citizen scientists. Like, I feel like there's more of an appreciation for those people than in other fields where I see, other people like, oh, well, you've not been to college. You don't have formal education. You don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, to be fair, right? Like a PhD level Nobel Prize winning physicist, and I'm not gonna like be challenging him on any of his.
I'm not challenging, but the appreciation.
But we can do that in mycology. We can do that. Yes, we can go. Look
that
what I
have
found.
Appreciation for on the boots, or on the ground, It's like, okay, yeah, you like to go out in the field and you like to crawl around on the ground, and I really appreciate that. I like to study that stuff. Let's work together.
Yeah,
that's what I like.
Yeah. Less separation.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think mushrooms don't really play by the rules. This is, so anybody who's an expert or whatever, like you pretty much have to like take everything they say with sort of like, yeah, most of the time that's true.
Or it's true for now until we do a bunch of DNA work on it, and then we find out that none of that's true.
I mean, even just like that breakdown of, is it mycorrhizal or not? I mean, in your cultivation world, that used to be like a hard barrier, and now, hey, we're growing all these mushrooms that you couldn't do that before. It's like, well, how come is that happening?
It's a completely different type of, like, the concept of life is different for fungus. It's just different. Yeah. So it's a paradigm shift for sure. Right. Like if you study leopards, you know where they're at. They're over there. You just go over there and then you study them. And that's where they stay. They're stable populations, right? And then where's the plants? Well, wherever they're planted, that's where they are. The seeds drop right there. They keep coming. Man, mushrooms do whatever the hell they want to do. They show up sometimes and they don't. You think they're going to be here one day, then they're not. In cultivation, we see this all the time. I just had somebody talking about how he had the exact same liquid culture that was a purified liquid culture. Assume it's a single dikaryon, genetic in this LC. He ran 20 bags and he showed me pictures and he's like, okay, so about 10 of them look exactly the same. And then 5 of them kind of look this way. And then he's like, then look at these weirdos. What were they doing? He's like, it's the same sub. It's the same everything. Why did these do something completely different? And of course, I'm like, oh, what's the temperature? Where were they stored? And he shows me where they're at. And there's like literally no explanation for it.
Yeah. Because mushrooms do what the mushrooms want to do.
Yep. Yeah, and anybody can be making that contribution. Like anybody can study it and publish a paper or just share it on the internet or whatever. And like that's huge, So I
and we're behind the times, right? I mean, these mycologists sitting in academia, I mean, they can't do it all. Well, we get out there and help them out. That's great.
We did that. Like I said, we did our foray focused around a restoration site this year, and it was where they had removed a dam on the Elwha River, and we were trying to compare former lake bed with some areas along that river that had been less disturbed, some more old growth forest. And when we initially got the concept for it, it was really inspired by the work the Elwha tribe had been doing that in that area to monitor native plant kind of what the native plants have been doing as they've been restoring that area, and they've done a lot of replanting and stuff. But we really didn't figure we would find much for fungi because it's a lot of really young, like alder and stuff growing in there. It's only been, above water for, I think, 12 years now. And so that's why we were like, well, we're going to have to do soil samples there, and we'll do soil samples from there heading into the old growth area. And that's where we'll find more of the macro fungi, in a sense, kind of do like a Venn diagram and see where the overlaps happen, as we go from, this area to that area. And we get in that former lake bed, and, Dr. Amy Hone and Graham Steinreck, they're just amazed because there's mushrooms popping up everywhere, in this area that was underwater for approximately 100 years up until 12 years ago, and it's just all kinds of mycological activity happening in there. So.
They just get in there and get it going. They just, they're ready and waiting.
And always ready to prove you wrong,
Exactly. Yes. It's really true. Yeah, I don't honestly, I don't sit around going, God, I want to find a new species and get to write a paper. That's not my jam. I'm more like, I just want to learn about this. The more I know about these mushrooms, the more I appreciate. Like for me, nature is God, God is nature. So it works more that way for me. But for example, today, I think it was Steve Russell updated one of my observations and was like, oh no, it wasn't. It was Brian Hart. Was like, yeah, there's 9 observations of this mushroom on INAT. It's an astoundingly rare mushroom that I found. Cool, neat. If I didn't use INAT and I wasn't friends with these guys and send my stuff in and all this, I would have never known that. And now I know. You never know what you're walking by. You might be walking by a brand new psilocybe species. And if you find it, put it on INAT, Happy's going to call me up and say, let's go look for that thing. And we're gonna, we got to be like the mushrooms. We got to myceliate. We got to make all these connections. They're complicated. They're way more complicated to study than any other living thing.
And even if you're new, get INAT and upload the stuff. Even if you don't know what it is, just put, mushroom. Somebody like Ariel, somebody will come along and look at your picture and ID it or comment it, and you can communicate back and forth. Just you putting that picture up helps everybody. It helps the whole community to know, well, that mushroom is there when maybe we didn't know that before.
Yep.
Just this year,
reverse, look at it and, just get on and look at your area and see what people are finding in your area. And then, and start to learn versus, off of that, is one thing that I feel like people can really learn from is getting on, see what else people are finding in your area, and then get out and start to look for those mushrooms.
Yeah, that's so before I went to NAMA, I went on INAT. I put in Randle, Washington. I got my little zone. I clicked the mushroom button, and then I went to species page, and I just started looking at those mushrooms. I was like, okay, because if you start foraging, you realize if you've never seen it before, they're hard to see. If you've seen them, especially if you've seen them in person, they get way easier to find. So I was like, just trying to give myself a little advantage. I didn't realize I was going to stumble over these freaking things everywhere and that I didn't need to do that. But yeah, it's an astoundingly powerful tool for learning, for fun, for just logging your finds. You do not have to know what it is. You just start using it and you will get smarter.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we're hitting right about the time I was trying to stay under 2 hours. Geeky's trying to not do these 4 and 5 hour podcasts anymore. I'm getting old, trying to maintain a marriage and raise 3 very young kids, and that does require me to go to bed before 2 a.m. now. So anyway, I want to thank all you guys for coming. It means a lot to me to have you guys on, take the time to talk about your NAMA experiences. Definitely hope to get to see you guys at some future events, whether it's NAMA or Olympic Peninsula or a regional thing, whatever, wherever. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Ken. That was amazing. We had a wonderful experience.
Yeah, well, thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
It was
Yeah.
really great.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. Until next time, I will talk to you guys later.
All right.
Bye.
Right. All right, guys. NAMA 2024 in the books. Over. Had a blast. Man, you know what? You got to save your pennies. I'm not loaded. I'm freaking middle class dude. I'm busting my ass trying to get to these things. I want to go to them all. And these days, I feel like you blink and there's another mushroom festival. and there's another event, and there's another cool thing, and they're all great and amazing. Just go to one of them. Just go check something out. It's a lot of fun. My buddy Steve Bonas, he was at the Georgia Mushroom Festival. He had a blast. You know, just there is a mushroom festival this year, not too far from where you live. Start there. Find out if there's a NAMA associated mushroom club or a rogue, not NAMA associated mushroom club. It doesn't matter. Just find your mushroom people. If you got a ID group on Facebook for your state, you're going to start getting to know some people in that state, see the ones that are by you, start hanging out with people that know something about mushrooms. It's a good time. Trust me. I guarantee you that at least 1 out of 3, if not 2 out of 3 people who love to cultivate mushrooms probably also would love being out in the woods, connecting with nature, just doing the mushroom thing. So, all right, guys, had a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next week, go grow some mushrooms.